Hey, you guys, and welcome back to Let's Talk About It, episode 3. So, I was sitting here and I'm trying to figure out what topic should we dive into today. I have so many on my list, and I'm looking through, and boundaries is one that it's poking out at me. But then, I was thinking about like expectations of self and how important that is to discuss, and then expectations of others. And I think that is applicable into so many people's lives on the daily. So let's do that today, and then next time let's do boundaries. Okay. So expectations, right? So we have so many of us have expectations for ourselves, whether that's today I want to do, and you have a list of 10 things, or maybe your expectation is just simply to get out of bed. And listen, that's a real thing. People don't understand that don't suffer with depression, anxiety, things that really cripple them, paralyze them in order to do functionality that the majority of us do very easily. And it's as simple as breathing to most of us, but that's not the case to everybody. And so sometimes the goal being set to just get out of the bed, that is a huge success, right? Setting that expectation for yourself. So I think that also, if you think about it, how when people do have crippling depression and anxiety and have people in their home who do not understand what that really feels like, and is just like, oh, they're being lazy, or they don't want to get the help they need, or they just don't want to put in the effort. So those other people they have expectations for them, right? Now that everybody has failed. So expectations of self, let's rewind before I go on a tangent about the other thing. Expectations of self, when you wake up and you set certain goals for yourself, short term and long term, all those things are super important to keep us focused on what we're doing every day. So some people are like, oh, I don't like to set goals, or I don't need to achieve anything in life, or I mean, people do say that. That's fine, but you still are expected to some degree to do something. Like, you expect yourself to do something, whether it's to go to work or just to fix yourself a sandwich. There's expectations. So if we're comfortable where we're at with our expectations, we have to really stand firm in that. And what I mean by that is, you have to really dig in and understand that, like, this is what I've set for myself. That's just me and myself. That's it. It Other people's opinions about your personal goals, it's just their opinions. It really shouldn't sway you. It just shouldn't. It probably does, because that's a problem that so many people suffer from, is allowing outside opinions to come in, and it really starts to make us think. Now, I'm not going to tell you that other people's opinions are always a bad idea. Excuse me. Because to be honest with you, I mean, what is a therapist? A therapist is somebody you go to talk to figure out what's going on, to help you set goals. So when you come to a therapist, like, that's my whole job, is to help people kind of gravitate through a path towards a goal that they are selecting. So it would kind of be a waste of people's time and money, to be very blunt with you, if you're going to go and not listen. So you have to really take those things in and really think about, whose opinions are we going to listen to and why? Did we ask for an opinion, or was it given? Why do we need that opinion? Kind of pick it apart a little bit, because I do feel like that is such a important thing to think about. It's important to think if we're asking for the right reasons, or if it was being given because somebody thinks their way is better for us, or the correct path. But then again, it's like, who's to say anybody's path is the correct path as far as being a human being? Some of us can really stand firm in what we feel like is a better path as far as positive negatives, or criminality, things of that nature, but really, you live your own life. So, going back to expectations, when we think about expectations, think about how very easy it is to expect other people to do certain things and then they fail us. But did they fail us? And why did they fail us? Did we fail ourselves? So I think this is where communication really pulls in the importance of it. If we expect somebody to do something for us, maybe it's our significant other, maybe it's our children, maybe it's our parents, we have to communicate to them very clearly and effectively what we are wanting or hoping for. That's not to say they're going to do it, but at least they have an idea of what the expectation is, right? What the roadmap is. So that way, when it's the end game, whether it happened or it didn't happen, say you're upset. But if you never told them what you wanted or what you needed, how could they provide it? Oh, they should just know. They should just know. They should want to. Well, that is an assumption for sure. It's an opinion that I hear a lot. But you know what? Should they? Because there's so many things that come naturally to me as a person that do not come naturally to other people that are in my life. I am a very big celebrator. I love celebrating. So if you're somebody that's special in my life and um and like you're in my inner circle, I'm going to celebrate everything about you because that's so important to me. I'm extra like that. I know I'm extra like that. But that's not to say that people in my circle are extra. Do they enjoy that part of me? Maybe. Do they enjoy um, being, celebrated? Maybe. But are they going to do for me exactly as I did for them? Probably not. It'll be different. I think that's so hard. It was hard for me at different periods of my life also. I mean, I have to be very honest about that. I started communicating like my expectations on things or what I would want. So that way I wasn't setting myself or anybody that loves me up for failure. So, for instance, and this is a hard one because to me, I'm at a stage in life where I love thoughtful gifts, and from my children, I would so much rather them make me something. It's just what I want. Me personally, I hope this doesn't come through as ungrateful, but I don't need a cup that says number one mom. I just don't. Now, if they drew the cup, that would be fantastic because that's something that really it resonates with me. But if I didn't tell my husband that, if I didn't express to him that I would love for the kids to just make me my gifts, then he goes and he has them pick out stuff and it's they spend $100 or $50 and buy number one mom jewelry from the store up the street and it turns mom's neck green and the thought is wonderful, it is, but I'm at a stage in life where things are so expensive and I think about those things. So I want to make sure we get people the things that they love if we're going to spend money on it and not waste money. So it's so hard because you gravitate between being grateful for being thought of versus wasting money because so very often that happens, right? I don't need a giant teddy bear that's 3 foot tall to sit in the attic. I just don't. It's a really nice thought. I appreciate the thought, but I just think again, really understanding people that are in your close circle and Communicating like your needs, your wants, your expectations of one another really builds a really strong foundation and a strong relationship. I also think it really helps teach our youth that it's okay. Like, you don't have to spend $1,000 every time something rolls around. You can make something very simplistic, and maybe it's $30, but you put so much effort into it because you listened, because you communicated, because it was something special. Maybe rather than buying like a bouquet of flowers, you buy a rose bush. Or, I just think at the very end of the day, it goes on communication. So, my husband's not a big flower buyer. I love roses. I just do. So I do, he gets them for me for special occasions. He knows the color that I love. He works very hard to do that. Every time it's like a special occasion. But that's it. I don't get just because flowers, because his brain just doesn't think like that. And you know what? I gotta be honest with you, that's okay. So I have communicated that I love those things on those special occasions. He makes that happen. And then I planted rose bushes that I was capable of picking my own flowers so I have flowers on a regular basis. So you see, again, it's communication, and it's not being upset because my husband isn't a just because rose guy, because he's so many other things that are so incredible. But how often do people go, they see on Instagram or on Facebook, and somebody posts like, oh, I got just because flowers. And now they're mad at their significant other because that person did not do that for them. How often does that happen? Or, oh, he bought her a new car, or she did this for him, or she did this for her, or he did this for him, or whatever. Whatever. Oh, look, they get to go to Bahamas. And then you unpack that on the person that's closest to you. That's not fair. That's not fair. We can't do that to each other. We can't keep up with the Joneses. And don't forget that everything's just a highlight reel. I want you to really think about those things. I want you to think about how you see people vacationing, but did they just put that whole entire vacation on a credit card? Think about it. Were they able to do it? Yes. Could you probably do it? Yes. But is it the smartest thing to do? I don't know. That's up to you. You have to ask yourself that. Expectations for yourself as a person, expectation for your family as a whole, expectations as you as a parent, what you want to be an example of, how you want to push that information out to other people. Do you want to be transparent and just say it is what it is, like we can't afford this year and that's okay? Or do you want to try to fly under the radar, go on credit card debt just to make appearances in a certain facet? I mean, it's hard because the world really does put a lot of expectations out there, and society really puts a lot of pressure on us following them, us being a certain way. But at the end of the day, guess what? You control yourself. You control your journey. You control how you respond and react, and the decisions that you make, you do that. So I really think like if we are able to communicate what we expect of ourselves, and how that also, I mean, I think it's important to really call sight to the fact that our personal expectations also need to be communicated out to our significant other. Because if you're like grinding, and you're just letting them be on the sidelines, people are going to take offense probably. Rather than like the next 6 weeks, like I have to study for this licensure exam, or I have to study for, finals coming up, or whatever it is. I might be a little absent the next 6 weeks. I really need the family to kind of go into overtime and take some of my responsibilities, right? So we do it as a unit. We take some of the percentage off of one to give to the other, while somebody is putting in a little extra effort somewhere else. So, expectations of ourselves, expectations of our significant others, expectations of our children. So very often we expect our children to be a certain way, right? They should mind us. They should get good grades. They should be respectful. Should they? I mean, like, honestly, should they? So, when you think about this, the reason I'm asking this is what is their example? What kind of life do they live in? What's around them? I see this all the time. I really do. I see so very often kids of all ages in like it's eclectic really. Lifestyles where the parents are always on the go. Lifestyles where the parents are very career focused and the kids are at home with a nanny. Lifestyles where the kids are at home by themselves. Lifestyles where the parents are constantly with them. There's so many different levels of involvement and parenting. Now, how we parent is reflective directly into our children, and we will see it, and we may not like it. Oh, they should know better. Should they? And then when they fail, yeah, you're mad. But what's their example? I want you to dig into that. Why is it wrong for them to do it? Especially if you're doing it, right? We are their parents. We made a choice to have children. Despite what the circumstances were, we made a choice to be a parent. We did. And therefore, we have a responsibility. Now, mind you, you can be whatever parent you want, and I support that. But your children will be a direct reflection of you and your parenting style. 100%. That's why we have so many different kids out there. That's why we have so many different people out there. That's why we're not robots, because we're all very different. My husband and I grew up different ways, but we have very similar core values. We just do. And we have navigated through in order to end up where we are as parents. We both take different roles at different moments. And sometimes we don't understand one another's reasoning for it, but that's just life. That's okay. We don't have to be identical on each thought of how we should parent, because at the very end of the day, and I believe this to my core, if my husband and I, or your significant other and you, in my case husband and I, if we love ourselves, love one another, and we emulate that in our household, like I'm talking, when I say love, I don't mean like, oh, I just love you. No, I mean like love, like respect, show up for, defend, take care of, support. Our children see that. Then when things get tough, they see us pull together even more. Those lessons are invaluable. They're invaluable. And so I know in my heart that our children will be incredible significant others to someone else, because that's one of the core beliefs of my husband and I, and it's something we want to make sure our children see. So we let them see it. We just do. We think about a lot of the things that we expose them to. We think of the places that we let them go, the people that they're around. I have been definitely tagged as a strict parent. I'm very strict when it comes to social media, but that's okay. I explain why, and they'll get through. And when they're adults, they can do as they want, and that's just how it is. It's not about being controlling. There are limits to what we want, but we make sure our expectation is clear. as far as what we respect in our household as parents. So like we expect that you take care of these things. That is not something you will be getting paid for. This is just life. You need to keep your room clean. It is, oh no. I'm hoping I didn't just stop recording. No, no. Okay, well, we're going to keep going because the whole thing went black. All right, well, let's just keep on keeping on. So, yes, we make sure that we have the expectations set in our house. Like, we expect you to do these things. Your room is not something you're going to get paid for. Cleaning your bathroom is not something you're going to get paid for. Because I personally, as a parent, feel like if I pay them for these things, these menial tasks that are part of life, that's like, go make yourself a sandwich. Oh, I'm going to pay you to make yourself a sandwich. No, these are life lessons, friend. This is how you're going to survive when you don't live with mom and dad. So those are things that there's no payment, allowance, reward, anything to. Those are just normal things in our house. So we set that expectation up front. And then we set the expectation like if you do these things, you can earn money in order to, like cutting the grass or whatever. But there is a change. Like you're going to rotate doing the dishwasher. You're a part of this household. We all eat. Therefore, you should also be a part of that process. Not every household's like that, and that's fine. But we set that expectation for our children so that they don't fail, right? And so that we don't fail. We have an expectation for everyone in our house. Sometimes we forget, and we have adapted to certain like writing things on the fridge or making a list and how we communicate to each other, like reminders. So, again, communication is going to be something that's talked about so frequently, but setting expectations are super critical because when you set expectations for other people and don't let them know, they will fail you almost every single time. And that's not their fault. I hate to say that just like that, but there's really no two ways about it. If you never communicated that, you were feeling a certain way, they're not going to read your mind. They're just not. And instead of having a reaction of like, I'm just not going to talk to them for a few days because they haven't given me any physical attention. Instead of doing that and icing it out and now creating an atmosphere that just is so toxic, makes you miserable, makes them miserable, instead of doing that, just say, hey, I miss you. Because that is really what it boils down to is you miss that person. I feel disconnected. I was hoping we could have a little time. That's all right. It's all right to be vulnerable with the person that you make the decision to spend your life with, or someone that's the path that you're taking right now. So having those connections and those communications, it's okay to do that. I mean, I really promote you to do that. I hope you do that. It's the same thing like with my kids. Like I will tell them certain things like, I'm feeling really frustrated with you right now. Why, Mom? Because honestly, I feel like you're being a little ungrateful and it's upsetting me. That's okay to say. Talk that out. Teach your kids at a young age to communicate. Nobody's mad. Nope. Nobody's yelling. Mm-mm. But the expectation is I expect for us to have this conversation so you understand at an age appropriate level that I am feeling frustrated because I am feeling unseen or I am feeling unappreciated. And these are the examples as to why. You sat on the couch and did nothing while you watched me do these 10 things. Or you didn't say thank you. There was no gratitude. You just keep asking for more. So that's twofold, right? So the expectation is that I expected them to be grateful. Have I taught them that? Do I show gratitude when they do something? Even if it's something they've supposed to do? Have I shown gratitude? Have I had constructive conversations about these situations? Those are all very important things to ask yourself. Self reflect, look back. It's okay to apologize to your kids. It's okay to communicate with your kids. It's okay to teach lessons, to say you screwed up. It's okay to say they screwed up in a very constructive way, not in a demeaning way, but in a very constructive way. I hope you guys can't hear that puppy in the background, but that puppy just got so loud. We have a new office puppy, and it's just on the other side of the door, and it just went crazy. But I think it just quieted down. Okay, so I hope I covered expectations okay. Like, um, having expectations for yourself, having them for others, whether it's your significant other or your children, clearly communicating what you expect, how you're feeling, those are so helpful. You're going to find yourself less frustrated, and you probably are going to find yourself getting your needs met more because you're communicating what your expectations are. Or say that you do communicate, like, this is what I expect, and then the person comes back and says, well, I can't do that. And then they go, because da 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 da, or because I don't want to. Is there a middle ground? Why does this person want this from you, and what can you give them that's okay? So find that negotiation, because we can negotiate and we can come to terms. It's not always going to be what I want. It's not always going to be what you want, right? And I don't think it's a bad idea either to, like, self-reflect on your own expectations for yourself. Are you setting your bar so high so often that you're constantly feeling like you've failed? And if you are feeling like you failed constantly, do we need to reevaluate? It's a good thing to have short-term goals and long-term goals, because the short-term goals give you that motivation to continue on to the long-term ones, right? They're like those little stopping points on the way to the big gold pot, right? We all have to do that. All right, you guys, thank you so much for coming to Let's Talk About It, episode 3. And I will see you guys next time. Have a great one.